Yeah, it acquired me, guys. Welcome to the channel. My name is Thomas Love. Welcome to One Lens Only. Today we're gonna discuss about the triangle exposure because despite we treated already the argument and the topic, and I also wrote a book about everything and a good recap. I would put the link down here, but I want to show you some real life examples because theory is one thing, but I want to show you the difference in between balancing the triangle exposure with a small depth of field, with a wide depth of field, with a fast shutter speed, with a slow shutter speed, what really changes and what impact it has on your photography and on your video. So stay tuned because we're gonna treat the argument soon. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thomas Love here from One Lens Only, and today I'm gonna show you a bit of this beautiful Lake Como. It's not a special day, it's not particularly gloomy and it's not particularly bright, so there will not be any session of street photography today because the street photography in Como, it's a bit of a challenge because the town is so little and it's packed with tourists. So today we're gonna see a few examples about the triangle exposure. I know you guys studied everything and maybe you are attempting your very first experiences with photography, with landscape, with portraits, with street photography, with your camera. So whatever camera you have, I'm not a particularly fanboy of any brand. Just for your information, I'm using a Sony A7C Mark II at the moment, which is a full frame camera, and it's paired with a Zeiss glass. So I think that Sony and Zeiss are a good combo. They work well together. I want to show you the differences in every single setting about your triangle exposure, because given that you want to be perfectly exposed, you don't want to burn any highlight, and you don't want to have to push the shadows afterwards because otherwise it doesn't look so natural. Once you want to find your balance, you can have different choices. And so right now I'm gonna record with my monitor what you're gonna see out of my camera, and we see together the differences in the different balances. So stay tuned because we're gonna have a deep dive about triangle exposure today. Alright guys, so let's start this experiment. I have mounted a zoom glass on my camera so I can show you a few different options that we have when we want to have a perfect balance. Now let me remove this ND filter because we're talking about photography, we're not shooting videos anymore, and as soon as I do it, as you can see, the shutter speed lets too much light in, so I try to keep the ISO as low as possible. Now it was on auto because I was recording videos, but I will change it soon. So whether you zoom in and out and you have more elements in light or in shade, now we move the ISO to the lowest possible, which is 125 on my A7C Mark II. I'm still bright wide open because on this glass the max aperture is f4, so now I'm trying to go faster with the shutter speed to limit the light hitting the sensor. So I am wide open with my glass, lowest ISO possible, and faster shutter speed to avoid clipping the highlight. Now, as you can see, we are in the shade. There are so many elements that are dark, but what if we want to change and reframe? Now, let me do this experiment. Let me zoom in because we want to see people passing by, and with 1/500 of a second, this might be fast enough to freeze the moment for people walking, but it's not enough for people biking because they might be too fast. So let me close down the f aperture just a tiny bit. As you can see, the sky was clipped. We cannot see the clouds out there because it was too bright. So we try go faster with the shutter speed. I am 1/800 of a second, and then we change the framing. I really want to show you because we have a better dynamic range perception with our eyes than our cameras. So as you can see, there are some clouds in the sky, but they're not really well defined because it's still too bright. So let me close down a bit the f aperture, and magic, right now the sky is not white anymore. It start being back to blue nuances, so new shades, and finally we can perceive the clouds. While if we want to do the same thing, to have the same end result, but with the shutter speed, I went back to f5.6 with my f aperture, and now I am going faster with the shutter speed, so less light will hit the sensor. And now if we change the framing, then this has to be rebalanced again, because now we don't have any more bright sky in our framing. Everything is so dark, so how can I show you what I want to show you, which is my bike? We need to go brighter, so I am changing the shutter speed. Now it's 1/250th of a second, which is fair because it's gonna be a static shot because the bike is not moving. And let's go back to f4, which is the max aperture that I have on my Zeiss glass. And then let's avoid clipping the highlights. So f4, ISO base level 1/800 of a second. This is fair enough to me. It might be a bit dark, but now if I want to go back and using the camera to record video, I will have to go back to 1/50th of a second because of the 180 rule, and to avoid clipping the highlights, I can only close down if I don't want to use an ND filter. So yeah, I thought we had enough examples to see. So now you saw in real life what is the difference between balancing with the ISO or with any other of the dimensions. And my personal choice, I don't know, maybe it doesn't apply anymore because mirrorless cameras are very advanced nowadays. My personal choice was to always keep the ISO at the base, at the lowest value possible, either for your photo or for your video, because that's just a gimmick. When I started photography, we used to have a film and you would purchase a film with a given ASA. It was not ISO. At the days, it's the same thing, but it was called ASA. So ISO was a given. You could not change it, and you had to adapt either the shutter speed or the f aperture. It was a hard training, but it worked out quite well. So nowadays, with mirrorless, you can even use your ISO management. In addition to that, it's fairly easy. So just pay attention to what we discussed in this video, and if you have any questions, please let me know down here in the comments if you want to see any particular example to be explained. Otherwise, I hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, please remember to like it, share it on your social media, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any videos to come, and I guess I will see you later. Thank you. Bye bye.